Hey there everybody, welcome back to the Agronomy Doc channel. You'll never guess where I am. Yes, the hat says it all. We're at the Lethbridge Research and Development Center, and lucky for you today, you're not going to be looking at my ugly mug. What you're going to be looking at today is a really cool experiment exploring nitrogen use efficiency in the context of enhanced efficiency fertilizers in our Canada Western Red Spring wheat class, or the bred wheat class here in Canada. And this is AAC Brandon. It occupies, I forget what it is. It's the biggest majority of acres on the prairies is still planted to Brandon. And I have with me my collaborator on this and the principal investigator, Dr. Ben Ellert. So welcome, Ben, and thanks for coming out to the field for us to chat about this trial. I think it's a really cool experiment. So first off, it's funded by what did you say that was again?
It's funded by the Efficient Fertilizer Consortium based in Washington, D.C., and that is organized by the Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research.
Yeah, so that was a really cool and strategic application. And so there's some academic applications, particularly with the novel tracing technology and hypothesis around that, but also it's still an applied study, which is why I'm involved, is because I'm providing the input on the agronomy side. And Ben, you're a soil scientist specializing in, what do you call that again?
I'm a biogeochemistry, so I look at the cycling of elements in agroecosystems. Right,
and so part of that is exploring, because the issue that we have is that, and then people think, okay, we've told people actually, is that our nutrient use efficiency when it comes to applying nitrogen on wheat, for example, and it's even worse with canola, is that, you're at around 40 to 50% of uptake of that nitrogen in the first year of application. But it's not like you've lost, the other 50%. It's just, it might not be available depending on how that, to your point, the cycling goes above and below ground. And this study here is going to help us, I think, better define and understand, as we apply that nitrogen, how you trace it, because we're not just going to be relying on, the traditional method, which is actually, here you see is a blank spot here, and that's because we had our chambers in here where our colleagues were measuring greenhouse gas emissions. But that tracing technology, to me, well, first of all, just explain the tracing, like the 13C method and all that.
Yeah, it's N15. So we're using a stable isotope of nitrogen, and we're using, this is a little bit different approach. This is very much in conjunction with input from agronomists, but we're using commercial prilled urea fertilizer. So it's most N15 studies, they're dealing with a little micro plot about a meter squared. This is actually, these are small plots, but still they're seeded with openers that are typical of that you'd find in a commercial seed drill, and we're banding the urea fertilizer just the same way. But instead of putting our tracer on a small little meter square, the entire plot is labeled at a low rate of N15.
And so that's the hypothesis, because I forget, like, what is it, like some crazy amount, like $3,000 or $6,000 a pound, if you want to do the traditional method of applying that radioisotope, blah, 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 which is totally cost prohibitive when you look at, we've got, how many entries are in here again?
There's 10 treatments.
10 treatments, and we've replicated it 5 times. So, and this is our irrigated site just east of Lethbridge at Fairfield Farm. And so it would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars per year just for the normal tracing technology. But Ben's hypothesis is, what if we could do a micro dose of that? And so this is kind of the proof of concept to see if it's going to work. And it's been revised a bit, I believe, but this is year 2, right? we did it sort of a...
We've done a little bit of pilot work before we built up to this one. And this actual project, funded by as part of the EFC, we've got 6 sites across Canada.
You're right. Oh, yeah, because we're in Ottawa and Charlottetown. A pan-Canadian study as well. So you'd never do that, never ever be able to do that with the regular tracing work method. And so the microdose, and we're working with Dr. Eric Bremer from Western Ag Innovations, and that preliminary work suggested that you're kind of onto something, right?
Yeah, well, as a technique, it's good because we can better discern the rate of that nitrogen.
Exactly.
We're measuring nitrogen fertilizer uptake efficiency, so we can tell how much of that nitrogen in the fertilizer. And the big thing we're interested in is, can we use some of these transformation inhibitors, either a nitrification inhibitor or a urease inhibitor, or a combination thereof, to increase the proportion of fertilizer in that's taken up. With the microdosing, a lot of the soil scientists might be disappointed because it's difficult to find that fertilizer in the background soil, but we will be cropping this under a uniform crop next year, and we will be able to assess how much is taken up in the second year after application.
So really, to me, this is like a really exciting study, and it really builds on a lot of that work that we've done in winter wheat and spring wheat with enhanced efficiency fertilizers, and we've kind of established, I think, that there's a role for them, obviously depending on what the market is demanding in terms of a premium for these. And we know, for those of you not as familiar, it's not like we're using urease inhibitors and nitrification inhibitors and some that have both, but it's the nitrification inhibitor that truly gives you the reduced greenhouse gases, for example. But that's only part of the question with this one. It's like, in totality, like, how do we increase our nitrogen use efficiency, and this will add that added sort of context, is like, how does that happen with or without an enhanced efficiency fertilizer? So we'll walk down and talk about a few of the treatments here. Like this, what the hell's the date here? It's August 21st. This got seeded a little bit later. This isn't exactly ultra early as you've seen with some of our other stuff, but took us a while we had a hell of a time trying to get product for some of this, and had some 11th hour changes to it and whatnot, but anyway, it got in. It's looking great. In addition to the timely rains, this is an irrigated site. So in front of us here is what again, Ben?
This would be
323. It's looking good.
This is I believe, this is block 3. This is urea with N-Trench and NBBT both.
Oh, right. So Ben, normally N-Trench is just a nitrification inhibitor, but Ben added a urease to it just to try and level up to the Super U treatment, which is a combination. N-Trench is marketed widely, and so is Super U from Coke, N-Trench from Corteva. But Corteva is just the nitrification inhibitor. Super U has both as a package. And Ben, it's somewhat academic, but to try and compare apples to apples, he took and made an additional treatment of N-Trench and stacked in the urease just to compare complete apples to apples with Super U. And it's looking pretty good. And the rate of nitrogen, again, we went with for most of it is
mostly 100 kilograms of N per hectare.
Yeah. So, and that was regardless of what our background soil was. And we'll show you the non-N treatment, and you can tell our background levels were nice and low because it doesn't look great. And so we've got 100, and then we dropped it to 60. 60 you might think is low, but I did previous work here, especially on dryland. We're actually 60 on dryland, especially when you move east of Lethbridge. A lot of times that's enough to reach your yield potential. But obviously we're on irrigation, so we're looking at 100, and then also, what did you say, 140?
140
Yeah.
is the high rate.
Yeah. So then and again, everything's in Brandon. And then this one, the variety Brandon. And then this one is what?
This is urea with N-trench loan.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, eh? So that's a loan. And then if you stacked in, and it's the same N rate?
Yep, same N rate.
Oh, I would take this one, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one rep. Obviously, we replicate,
Looks pretty close.
randomize, replicate, and repeat over time and space, but close, but interesting. Okay, then what?
And this one should be the DMPP, nitrification.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So just a nitrification inhibitor. I don't want to talk too much about that one.
And this one is actually, I think this one's surface applied urea with urease inhibitor.
Okay.
So that's sort of poor practice, and then we've got one with no inhibitor at all.
This is what happens when you work with soil scientists. They want to do all these poor practice stuff. But the reason we set this one up wasn't because we would recommend it. It's because we want a case of scenarios that are optimal in terms of timing and placement, but also and rate, but also some that should theoretically be exposed to losses. Although when I look at this plot, I'm not thinking that's a horrible practice right now, but we'll see once
we've got two right beside. This is surface applied urea with no inhibitor.
Okay. So did the inhibitor actually do something? I mean, it's taller, which would suggest these plants were happier in terms of nutrients. So maybe that urease inhibitor did something. Interesting. Okay. Now here's one. Now for you guys out there, I know on Twitter there were some guys talking about some old wives' tale or whatever it is, that your best wheat crop is when it's ripening from the top down. I don't know if we've got a pile of studies to support that or not, but I suspect that physiologists might support that to a degree. But this is kind of an example that we have of that, where it is sort of ripening from the top down. It's a nice looking plot. So what is it?
This is urea and this is
328
and N-trench.
Oh, so this is N-trench with
NBPT. This has got the inhibitor.
So is it a different rate?
Yeah.
So this is the highest. Oh, right. Yeah, this is the 140 rate. That's why it's looking better. Yeah, okay. So you saw the other one over there at 100, I believe it was. And when we boost it to 140, which, you know, our work on spring wheat in optimal conditions particularly is like, you'll get good responses up to 120. So the fact that you're 140 here and it's looking better is not a big surprise over 100. And then what do we got here?
This is just straight urea.
Okay, so this is another benchmark that we often want to have. So this is just
banded at 100.
Right. So when we were planting, we banded everything at planting. And if you've seen the work that we've done in the past with winter wheat or spring wheat, this can be a tough treatment to beat. So for you guys out there that, you know, are you know, wondering, like, I prefer to band everything at planting, but I'm not sure if that's exposing me to any sort of reduction in yield potential. Most often, statistically, it's just as good as a lot of your split application systems, unless you get into super high productivity environments. And this, you know, this could be a year where, especially here, it could be a high productivity environment with both all the rain we had, and then obviously we're supplementing that with irrigation. But we did have, even on irrigation, like, you start getting the heat that we got in July with the winds.
The rain was
like,
pretty short.
yeah, well, there wasn't any. I think we broke like a third least amount of rain or something like that.
It was single-digit millimeters in July.
Yeah.
So it was
and it's not just the moisture; it's the wind that comes with that heat. It creates what we call a wind desiccation effect, and that's actually why the breeders further over yonder on south irrigation, they love to have their stuff in adaptation trials, even if they're going to be, like Brandon is, predominantly under rain-fed environments, but they like to have that germplasm over there where it's getting exposed to wind desiccation effects under irrigation, because it just gives a different type of context around the resistance to, or the resilience against, that heat and drought stress that you're going to, if you're on the prairies, typically July is going to give you that. So yeah, then this is our no end treatment, and this is what we like to see, kind of a crappy looking plot, because these plants aren't able to, well, they're forced to scavenge for N, but they're not finding a whole lot because we got low background levels of N in this one.
Yeah.
And that hole I was talking about, I was wrong about that. Yeah. That hole is the biomass sampling. Yeah, and the chamber's up here, actually, which we talk about chambers, but it's not much to look at right now. They come in with their fancy equipment and drop it on top of that thing first and foremost. And it's just a poly
PVC ring.
Yeah.
Actually, this is all offline greenhouse gas.
Right. So. And then our last one here.
The last one is that is. I think I might have had it mixed up. This is N-Trench again. This is N-Trench alone at 100.
Where was Super U?
Super U was back.
Okay, so this is just N-Trench at what rate?
100.
100. So where? Let's go to the Super U. I don't think we must have missed that one, because they're all in this range, right?
Then the high,
was it 328?
We got that one right. This is the Super U right here. That's the high end rate, 140.
Oh, right. So this is Super U at 100?
Yep.
Yeah, that looks good. I mean, I'm not obviously paid by Koch Agronomic Industries, but I've studied Super U a lot over the years, and it's, especially the way the price point is on it, it typically can pay for itself. We even see with even the Agritane, and not just Koch's version of it, but like we can sometimes see enough of a not just yield, but also yield stability to where, you know, for the few bucks an acre, like I think it's sometimes $5-7 an acre, you get solid yield stability, and sometimes the yield is just enough to pay for it alone too. So, you know, as far as insurance policies go, I mean, obviously nobody's getting any cash back for the carbon sequestration or the greenhouse gas mitigation, which in my mind they should be getting, but agronomically alone, some of these enhanced efficiency fertilizers, they have a role to play. So what other closing thoughts do you have there, Ben?
That's another control, the third one in from the end there, and you can almost see it from here in replicate 4.
Yeah.
And in replicate 5, the controls at the far end, so you can almost see the from afar.
Yeah, and we actually, even though it's, just remember, it's the same variety, and I've had better examples of this too, but I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be jumping to the conclusion that you've got a single variety out here either. But like, look at there, that must be your control again over there. Like, you got pretty wild differences in some of the plots with respect to height, and definitely biomass and all of that in relation to your treatment effects. So this is going to be a really cool study, and the hail just missed us last week, so we're still standing. So hopefully we've got some good data for you. So thanks for coming out here, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.